Hola, bon dia. Carl Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream YouTube channel and podcast. Studio dog Jimmy Chew is lying at my feet. I've just had some beautiful homemade jam made by Mrs. M. Do you remember I showed you the feijoa fruit earlier this week that friend Marco had brought over from his very own quinta? Well, she made jam from the feijoa, and it was delicious on toast this morning. So all is well in the world. It's Friday, of course, as well. And I know that means a slightly different thing when you become an expat and you're possibly retired, but bear with me and let me just adjust my green screen, actually, first and foremost. That's annoying me, how I'm disappearing like I'm being beamed off the Starship Enterprise. Anyway, a few things to look at today. I do want to know, how nosy I can get on occasion. If you do anything nice this weekend in Portugal. If you're not in Portugal, don't let that exclude you. Obviously interested in everybody's business here. So, but especially, what are you doing in Portugal this weekend, if anything? Any plans to go touring? We've got a little hatching a little cunning plan ourselves this weekend. I'm meeting up with friends. It's looking good. And also today, obviously, we'll have a look at the weather as we customarily do. Gordon Ramsay spotted in Portugal. We'll have a look at that. And I wonder if you might imagine what he's saying about Portugal. Please be careful what you write in the comments, but I wonder what old Gordon will be saying about the food in Portugal. I fear his response in a funny sort of way, but we'll see. I'm sure he'll love the lifestyle, if not if the cooking isn't exactly to his taste. I'm sure he'll love the people and the lifestyle for sure. And I'll finish the show today. There's slightly heavy stuff. Obviously, in some ways, it would make sense to do the heavy stuff first and then finish on a light note. But I'm going to be talking about COVID and the highest numbers and a challenge to our perception of COVID to finish the show today. And I'm doing that because for those people who are utterly bored with it or might get upset about what's being said, you can choose to tune out and off before we get to that. So yeah, let me know what you're doing this weekend. We'll have a look at the weather. We will finish with the COVID thing. And the other thing I wanted to know, we had a really good chat yesterday, I thought, about what you're reading at the moment. I mean, first and foremost, with the figures of how many young people are not reading in Portugal and how little they're reading compared to previous generations. It was great to talk about, what people felt about books and reading, and some people were telling us exactly what they're reading. Book names, naming and shaming authors and titles. What are you watching? Because I've had a strange run of viewing just recently. I've been watching, I signed up for Mayo's service. I went from Vodafone to Mayo. Vodafone made a massive mess of my transfer of phone and cable stuff. But I am liking Mayo to a great extent. And I want to talk about a couple of things I've been watching that I just haven't been able to make sense of. So looking for Netflix or other recommendations of series, comedies, whatever. So let me know what you've been enjoying as well, if you will. So before the weather is a straight in, Will Thompson. Check you out. Bon dia from Will. How you doing, mate? You sent me some ideas recently, and I forgot to get back to you on that. I love them. I mean, let's talk some more. Hola, bon dia from a chilly but bright Southampton from Paul Williams. We're with him on the countdown. Oh, it's grandson's birthday weekend for Paul, so that's what's happening over there with the Williams clan. And just 5 days to go now until Paul sets off on his Portuguese odyssey to be here with us in Portugal. Hello, Anna. Good morning to you. Hola, bon dia. Boa sexta-feira. The only day with sex in it, as I sometimes cheekily say. That's sexta, Friday. Sexta-feira. Which is Portuguese for Friday. Hola, bon dia. Give you three guesses. That's what Gordon's going to say. Is that one of his catchphrases, Gary? I'm not quite with you there, but I'm sure that's a comic reference in some way about what Gordon's going to say, Gordon Ramsay's going to say about his experience of Portugal. And great job. Yes, let's just go back to Gary Garvo Austin for a moment. He led the wine tasting last night and did a brilliant job, told a fantastic backstory, created a marvelous picture, and introduced me to a new wine, which I will be buying again. It wasn't the highest scoring, and it was quite, I think, partly because of Gary's 50 Shades of Vino approach to it, as I think it was Charles who said that. last night, who joined us among the wine ninjas and the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. The setup really made the stakes quite high. So it was going to become a bit of a sort of Marmite situation if I'm going to be mixing all my metaphors up. But I liked it, and it was the average of around 4 out of 5, and definitely worth a try. I mean, just generally speaking, we liked it, and the arguing over the points, the finer points, were really just because we've become quite a bunch of wine tasters. Actually, our tastes, palates have changed so much in these 15 bottles that we've tried, not all in one evening, I hasten to add. But great job, Gary. Oh, well, last 24 hours in Portugal, then back hopefully permanently from December. Fingers crossed for you then, Dave and Debbie. Constructive 3 weeks, gained residency, registered for driving license and received health number and local doctor. So all pretty good. That is very good. Let me just have a sip of tea. Indeed, got a bit too excited there and out of breath. That is good. No mention of a NIF number there, but I imagine that was fairly straightforward, and you did that fairly on in the process, Dave and Debbie. We always, I need to get a little jingle, don't I, for everybody who manages to get a NIF number, so that we can celebrate that together. But good work, Dave and Debbie, and you're already getting a bit of saudade, I think, thinking about your last day here, and then returning, of course, in December. Not long, really, is it? So that'll fly by, and we'll look forward to having you as regulars on the show here. Wendy, good morning, Wendy. Morning. Still slightly holding thumbs. Hold on a minute. Still tightly holding thumbs. I'm thinking that's a colloquialism of your part of the world for fingers crossed, right? I've not heard that one before, but I think that's what it must mean, that we will be able to fly to Portugal on the 28th. Well, I'll hold my thumbs too for you. And hope that comes true there for you, Wendy. So, yeah, thanks for being in touch this morning. Penny, hola, bon dia. Gary did a great job last night. Yeah, Penny is a now honorary wine ninja in a circle of the wine tasting club. Yes, I totally agree. Great job from Gary last night. Thank you, Penny. Thank you for being there last night. Guten Morgen from a rainy Wiesbaden in Deutschland. From Jim McDonald and Will Thompson. Yeah, picked up on me talking about Marmite. Marmite wine is basically port, isn't it? I'll let other people respond to that. Actually, no, I won't. I'll have a little. We'll have a little go at that. Will, I think people universally respond well to port. I would say. I think the Marmite wine here in Portugal is red fizz. That really sorts the men from the boys and puts hairs on your chest at the same time. Bon dia from Greg. Greg was with us last night from checking in from Torquay this morning. Morning, Greg. I'm assuming you are anyway. And thank you for joining us this morning. Joking apart, books like Where's Spot, this is the Gary's favourite that he mentioned yesterday, are important because it allows parents to spend important one-to-one time bonding with their children, which is important, and interacts with kids in a way no other medium can do. Yeah, that's right. When your kids sat on your lap looking at a book, there's nothing greater than that, is there? That little moment when they look up at you, turn their head up at you, and in some sort of moment of recognition or learning. Yeah, absolutely right, Gary. It is a very important medium indeed, even if it does become a little bit quaint and historical in due course, which I think it inevitably will. I think we have to face that. Okay, weather time here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. Lisbon, 16 degrees and overcast. It will go to 25 degrees today, though, but remain cloudy in the capital. But look at that. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all forecast for lovely sunny days ranging from 26 to 22 degrees in Lisbon. So very comfortable after a cloudy day today. Excuse me. Porto, 13 degrees, partly cloudy at the moment. And that's going to clear, giving way to 21 degrees of sunshiny day in Porto, and a run of 5 days of sunshine. So I think we've got a really lovely weekend to look forward to. If I'm suddenly calling this the look at the weekend weather. Coimbra, 13 degrees centigrade, partly cloudy, 23 tomorrow. Wowzers. And again, just like Lisbon, 6 days of sun forecast ranging from 21 to 25 in Coimbra. And Faro, finally, overcast at 19 at the moment. Cloudy for Friday and the beginning of the weekend, but like the rest of the country, giving way to some very sunny weather with a range from 21 to 25 degrees centigrade for the rest of the week, including Sunday, actually. So a patchy weekend, but looking like a nice day on Sunday, and an excellent week ahead down there in the south of Portugal. So shall we find out what Gordon, I was going to say young Gordon. He's no spring chicken anymore, is he? Gordon Ramsay, not one of the young guns of the kitchen anymore. Craggy old Gordon. But Taste of Portugal reporting that Gordon Ramsay's show may well spotlight Portuguese cuisine in 2021. Traditional Portuguese cuisine is due to feature in the third season of Gordon Ramsay, Uncharted. Okay, so that's his TV series that sees the celebrity chef exploring the culinary customs of countries from around the globe. So, yeah, I guess he's not going to be in full-on critic mode, destroying the emotions, reputations, and preconceptions and ideas of people in the trade already. This is Gordon Ramsay Uncharted. So perhaps a little bit more benevolent and open-minded and not so much drama and maybe not so much swearing. The 53-year-old was spotted in July enjoying dinner at a restaurant in Ericeira and sailing with fishermen in Peniche, but that was fun, which led to speculation that he could be filming an episode of his latest TV series in Portugal. Now, funny thing with that is he was spotted in July enjoying dinner at a restaurant in Ericeira and sailing with fishermen in Peniche. He might have just been on holiday, everybody. So who knows? The evidence, I guess, would be maybe the appearance of or the inclusion of a camera or two. They don't say anything about that here. The news was eventually confirmed. Oh, so it has been confirmed by National Geographic. Oh, which broadcast the series. So he's on National Geographic, which brings us very nicely to what you're watching on the many channels of your modern television. However, the episode focusing on Portugal's gastronomy will only be included in the series' third season, which is due to be aired next year. So we'll have to wait for that. We'll just have to keep eating our own Portuguese dishes and giving our own view on them until Gordon is aired on National Geographic. Currently on a Friday. So the second season may well take that spot and be on National Geographic on a Friday evening when you might be able to see Gordon Ramsay Uncharted in Portugal. And what do you think he's going to say, really? Okay, so before we talk more about what you're doing this weekend, do please let me know what you've been watching on Netflix, on Mayo, on Vodafone. When I was with Vodafone, I quite like their exclusive channel. And I've discovered Mayo's now and got 2 months free subscription on that. And I was watching the Durrells, excuse me, which was very heartwarming, actually, watching the Durrells, because to connect that with what people read and what we've been reading, I did read My Family and Other Animals when I was at school. And as I said yesterday, I'm not a great reader. You know, I have to be forced to do it either in school or be very motivated, and often in the non-fiction department. But I did enjoy My Family and Other Animals, really beautifully chronicled adventure of the Durrell family from Gerald Durrell's point of view, who went on to become the great, what would he be called? Conservationist, naturalist, not naturist, naturalist. And it's a beautifully dramatized version of the book, not completely dramatized. I mean, is that the right word if it's just been turned into a series? But I mean, there's everything in there. All of Life is there. I mean, because that's how the book was, and All of Life is there with the Durrells on Mayo. Really enjoyed that. And then I started watching Summer of Rockets. Now, that was good. That is a Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy vibe to it. Beautifully done. Stephen Polyakov, direction, production, writing even, possibly. Very stylish. Very nice to watch. Didn't understand it, though. I couldn't keep up. And it was one of those things, I don't know if you have this, and I think people do with these kind of Swedish crime things that people get hooked on. It's a test of your intelligence as much as anything else, isn't it? To see if you can keep up. I mean, some people make notes when they're watching these series now to truly understand what's going on with the interplay of the characters and the plot. And Summer of Rockets, maybe I wasn't concentrating enough, but I couldn't quite get it. And it got to the end, and I thought, I still don't really understand what happened there. Enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed looking at it, but couldn't really feel the benefit of totally resolving the thing. And then I watched something called Love on there, which the only thing I can say about that at this savoury hour of the day is that Mary Whitehouse will be spinning in her grave so vigorously that she could probably power up all of Portugal watching that. Nothing to do with love, as far as I could tell. A bit of a misnomer, and quite shocking, actually. And so I would like your recommendations. And then I discovered last night Acorn. Acorn appears to be on Mayo as a channel, and seems to focus on British programming, not just dramas, but comedies. So yes, it's a big world out there, isn't it, of possible viewing. What are your recommendations, please? Julie Marsh in Fundao. How are you, Julie? Good morning from a very warm week in Fundao. Yeah, I bet. We're watching Homeland on Netflix every night. Very good. Are you watching it from the beginning, Julie, or is that the continued series of Homeland? I absolutely love that, and I think I watched it on terrestrial telly, on Channel 4 when I was in the UK, and I really loved that. So compelling. And that was absolutely compulsory viewing in our house for a month or two, I think. So where are we at now with Homeland? And actually, no, don't spoil it for anybody, but just give us the gist of like how many programs have been made now. And what's going on there without spoiling the plot, if you wouldn't mind. Johnny from Belgium, good morning to you. Watched us drinking last night whilst not drinking herself. Good effort. Bon dia, what is Marmite wine? There's a thing. Looks like we could crack the expat market with that. I think it was just a turn of phrase, Johnny, to describe, a Marmite thing. I don't know, how deeply do I go into this? Have you tried the... What is it? A spread? Yeah. Have you tried the spread known as Marmite, first and foremost? So it's a yeast extract, like you may be more familiar with Bovril or Vegemite, Australians call it, notably encapsulated in the song Men at Work, isn't it? Down Under, Vegemite sandwich. And so Bovril, Marmite, Vegemite, and obviously, aficionados will say, actually, they're nothing like each other, but they're in the ballpark of dark yeast extracty type spreads. And a turn of phrase in the UK or Marmite eating cultures is that if something's Marmite, you either love it or hate it. There's very little... In fact, it's a good description of the political world at the moment, isn't it? Or social media. It's kind of polarized into yes or no, like it, don't like it, red or blue. So I think Will was suggesting, Marmite wine, or was it? I forget now, but I mean it was Will's suggestion anyway, and he was suggesting, I think, that port would be the Marmite wine, dividing people in terms of taste. I hope that explains, Johnny, what Marmite. It's not an actual product. We've yet to innovate and create that as a Good Morning Portugal label. I'm a regular podcast listener, but today managed to see you live, so I can comment live. Greg, this is fantastic. Look, everybody, Greg is one of those people who consumes this via podcast. We don't often get to meet them in their natural habitat. So here he is. Well done, Greg. Lovely. And I'm enjoying your comments. Keep them coming, sir. Andrea Pereira, I don't know if you get ITV Hub in Portugal. If you do, Des is well worth watching. And I want that to be the dramatization of the life of Des O'Connor. I suspect somehow it isn't, but I would watch that. And I don't get ITV Hub in Portugal. And this is the point, I guess, where we possibly discussed, what are they called? Not MVPs. Those things, where people are watching TV from other networks and various things. Keep it legal, everybody. But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing. How do you stay in touch with the TV you're used to, if you bother at all doing that? Or do you just want to just forget about that and just watch Portuguese telly? Because that's a really good way of learning the language, of course. I haven't said that so far this morning. And that's one of the reasons why I watch so much Portuguese children's TV. It's trying to learn the language. Andrea, thank you for that contribution. Nothing open-minded about Ramsey. He told his children he would disown them if they chose a vegan diet. I think that's probably a bit of shtick for the telly tie. But I can imagine him saying that. Might have even seen that episode, and he probably says it quite a lot. But he's a showman, isn't he? And I suspect that was just for the sake of the cameras. But who knows? Ratched on Netflix. Ratched, is that right? Ratched on Netflix was interesting in inverted commas. And you know, don't you, when someone says interesting, they didn't necessarily like it. A bit gory in places, but quite compulsive viewing. Okay, that's one to make a note of. Thank you, Penny. The Bridge, The Fall, The Tunnel Trilogy, all good. Okay, and I don't even know now if that's a book or something on the telly, on the box, but thank you for that. I'm sure I'll be able to find it if I do a Google search, as we all will. Here we go. This is Will's scientific approach to things in life. Marmite is all thick, dark, and sticky. Again, probably like politics, or certainly I perceive it to be. I figured lots of people wouldn't like it, but Carl just corrected me. Apparently, it's well accepted all round. In Scotland, we have Buckfast. Oh yes, the Wreck the Hoose juice. It's pretty much port, but with 1,000 doses of caffeine in it. Some love it, some hate it. Like Marmite. Yeah, I lived in Devon where Buckfast wine is made, not far from the production facility, where, would you believe it, it's created by monks, and it's a kind of branded Buckfast Abbey thing. And from those sublime surroundings, they export, I don't know, possibly millions of bottles around the world. And it causes a lot of hardship for people. That particular, a lot of people are stuck on that Wreck the Hoose juice, hence its name. Yeah, and it goes all the way up. It's very popular in Scotland, as you say there, Will. Interesting. Narcos all the way. Okay, I think that's on Netflix, isn't it? Narcos. Thank you for that, Gary. And yes, it's always great because there's always one person who says, I don't watch any TV at all. No Netflix, no films. And I quite admire that. Greg, as he's already exposed, is as a podcast consumer rather than a sort of a visual person. And I do have a little bit of a sort of jealousy and envy of people who don't watch any TV, who have the discipline to just think that's all rubbish. They don't partake of any at all. So thanks for that, Greg. Julie Marsh, from the beginning, we're on season 7 now. So Homeland made it to season 7, did it? Not surprised. Has the quality stayed? Well, for you, it must have done if you're still on season 7. But I wonder, it was such a cracking and compelling thing, Homeland. Have they managed to keep that up for all 7 seasons? Marvelous. My Netflix recommendation is Away. Hilary Swank on a mission to Mars. That sounds interesting. Thank you for that. Always good to be able to say Hilary Swank. Vegemite, you see, I knew it. Astrid is here. And I knew I may well not offend exactly, but call an Australian to call me out on that. Vegemite is very different to Marmite. Oh, come on, Astrid. It is in the same ballpark, though. Come on. And just got a new jar of Vegemite from Glued yesterday. And now Astrid is going to have to tell us what Glued is, isn't she? Okay, is that mail order for expat supplies and possibly one of the outlets for our new Marmite wine that we're now working on? Marmite all the way, says Penny Albertella. Bovril is the devil's work. You see, yeah, I should have known. I should have known better. Thank you, Penny, though. Durrell's Wildlife Conservation Organisation and Park is in Jersey. Yeah, wonderful place. If you find yourself in Jersey, it is a must visit. What a great chap Gerald Durrell turned out to be. And you can see him as a little lad in the Durrell's series, which you can see on Mayo. And you can get 2 months free subscription on that at the moment, which is pretty good. And that's how they lure you in, isn't it? You say, okay, I'll sign up now, 2 months free. Then you forget, and then they start charging you. And by that time, you're hooked. VPN, that's it. Is that a virtual private network? That's the way of watching things, isn't it? That perhaps you're on the face of it excluded from watching by the normal conventions of the internet. Let me put it like that. And a VPN allows you to watch things on the internet from other territories. I think that's a good definition. I meant port is thick, dark, and sticky. Okay, gotcha now, Will. I guess, yeah, comparatively so. There is some viscosity, a phrase I've learned from the wine club. There is some viscosity. So, yeah, I get it. I get that description, Will. 2 nights ago, we went to the Blue Walnut in Torquay and we watched 9 films. Oh, okay, so you're not a consumer of the media at home, but you go out to the cinema, Greg. The Blue Walnut, I think I know of that in Torquay. What? And you watched 9 films back to back? That sounds like a filmathon, maybe. Were you raising money for charity or something like that? Are there 9 Star Wars movies now? What was that about? Tell us more. A chain of stores, thank you, Astrid, a chain of stores across Portugal selling international food. Marvelous. Okay, I think I have. Yes, I may have stepped into that in Aveiro. I think they might have a branch there. Pot of Marmite, possibly taking advantage a little bit of people's fondness and attachment from the things back home. And yeah, pot of Marmite, 10 quid or something like that. Not quite as much as that, but I was, yeah, I did raise an eyebrow or two. And you should not take your kids in there, right? Because they're seeing things from the old place. They're seeing things from America, aren't they? Oh, let's get a Hershey bar. And on the, there are two things about the Hershey bar, aren't there? One is that if you buy it in Portugal, it is going to cost you like 2 or 3 euros per bar, probably. The other thing is they're horrible. Americans cannot do chocolate. So have I set another cat among the pigeons there? Watching O Preço Certo on RPT and Aprende os Números. Oh, why do you do this to me, Johnny? So watching The Price is Right. Yes, Preço Certo. That's the Portuguese Price is Right, isn't it? To learn about numbers. She is such a good student, is Johnny. Very good, like that. Cheese on toast with bovril or on crumpets. Lovely stuff, Andrea Pereira. And I'm guessing you've either married a Portuguese man because or you are Portuguese and you've taken that in from another culture, because I've never seen that on a Portuguese menu. Cheese on toast with bovril. I've never seen a crumpet here. Lovely, but I would agree with you. Lovely stuff. And I'm wondering how that's become part of your diet. Okay, fantastic. We're just coming up to the half hour, and this is the Good Morning Portugal live stream in association with Expats Portugal. And I'm just going to let you into a little secret here, that the relationship with Expats Portugal is deepening. I'm delighted to say. Astrid is with us this morning. She, of course, from expatsportugal.com, along with Jerry Lawler. We were on the Portugal Calling webinar last night looking at Lisbon property with, let me see if I can find her name and try and say it for you. We were with Avia. That's the easy part of her name, from JLL Residential. The other part of her name, I think it was Regleniece from, I'm going to go with that. No, sorry, Segleniece. And she was from Latvia, and she was fantastic and showed us some wonderful properties from Lisbon and Cascais. Beautiful, the high-end property, really, but told us a lot about the property market in Lisbon. Great news is that it's pretty much back to where it was before the pandemic. People have continued to buy during lockdown, and it's really great for Lisbon and great for the Portuguese economy, of course. And yeah, so Expats Portugal, Good Morning Portugal, tune in on Monday. We are joining forces, I'm delighted to say. And so join us on Monday, where you will experience a little bit of a sort of hybrid rebrand. And I'm hoping that either Astrid or Jerry or both will be with us on Monday to talk more about this good news, to help people. I mean, the whole business here for us and the aim of our endeavor here on Good Morning Portugal is to help people enjoy life in Portugal. And whether that's you're already here as an expat and we give you a kind of focal point, a fire around which to gather, or if you're not here yet and you want to be, and we're just keeping you informed of the wonders of this country, or for some of you, and some of you like this expression, if we're just keeping your pilot light lit about your interest in Portugal, or you visited and now you plan to come back and live, we're here for you for that. Us, Good Morning Portugal and Expats Portugal, and we'll be telling you more about the collaboration and the development of our relationship on Monday. And probably I may be issuing a press release over the weekend as well to tell you more about what's going on with that. Andrea says, going back to cheese on toast with bovril and crumpets, my partner Paulo is from Figueira da Foz. He hates Marmite. You see, there you go. It was Johnny who asked about that, wasn't it? There's Marmite for you. That tells you as much as you probably need to know about the phenomenon of Marmite there. Andrea loves it. Partner Paolo doesn't, and quite clearly so. Chocolate is a taste you become accustomed to as a child. If you grew up in the US, then you love US chocolate. Same goes for the UK and the EU. I think it's unkind that Americans give their children chocolate of that quality. Quite frankly, Ty, but I do take your point, and I'm only kidding. The films were competing in a race for Oscar nominations. We had a vote at the end of the session, which took in total 2 hours, short films. I think I know who might be behind that. Was it a certain Mr. Newbury? I have worked with him in the past in Devon, and we did something similar, a kind of Oscar nomination thing. Yes, 2 hours of short movies there, 9 films altogether. Do send my love and best wishes to Matt. And I think that may well have been the chap who was behind that. It all makes sense now, Greg. Fantastic. Okay, thank you, everybody, for telling us what you're watching on Netflix. That's really great. And your views on Gordon Ramsay. Some of you telling us, did anyone tell me what you're doing at the weekend? I don't think you did. Anyway, we're going to move on now, because onto the more sort of serious stuff. It would, as I've said before, it would be remiss of me not to do any COVID coverage. That's not to say that you can go pretty much anywhere and be bombarded by COVID coverage and news of the pandemic and what's shaping up around the world. Where we are in the tail of this, if indeed we are in the tail of it. However, I want to take, you won't be surprised, a slightly different angle on this morning. First of all, of course, though, the news that we're looking at high numbers, big numbers, as Donald Trump would say. And of course, he's having his own relationship with the virus and making the most of it at the moment, it would appear. Brilliantly using it to the best of his political ability, the old rascal. But here in Portugal, second ever highest number of new COVID-19 infections, as reported by the Portugal News this morning. That's come out. Portugal has crossed the barrier of 1,000 daily infections of COVID-19 for only the second time since the start of the pandemic, with 1,278 cases. Yesterday's figures were only behind the number of infections reported on the 10th of April. Those hospitalized also rose by 37 to over 800, while intensive care units reported 11 new admissions, taking the total to 115. So a very quick report, and that seems to be where the mainstream news is focusing. In my native UK, it's the same thing. I think most of the mainstream news reporting is the drama of the reported new cases. It's about cases, isn't it? And the rise in cases, and then what should be done about that, which clearly is anyone's guesswork, and causing much controversy around the world where the cases are rising. Now, compare and contrast that to something that caught my eye in the Portugal Resident, which I think does endeavour to take a slightly deeper view of things when it comes to expat news in Portugal, in English. Before I go there, though, I feel I should just resolve a few of these comments. Best chocolate is from Belgium. I don't think many people would disagree with that, Johnny, for sure. Nothing, someone will, of course, us humans being humans. But I mean, that's a good shout. Belgian chocolate, you can rightly be proud of that as a Belgian person. And nothing like a Marmite rush when you overdo it. My goodness, what's he doing? Is he like sort of mainlining his Marmite in Alvazra there, Gary Garvo? I don't think I've had a Marmite rush. And in some ways, I don't think I want to try. It's not a habit I want to get into, or feel that I need to go and spend 10 quid on a jar of Marmite oat glued every time I feel the need for a rush. That's a little bit worrying, but very interesting. Off to the UK on Sunday, says Joe. That's a mixed thing always, isn't it? I think lovely to see the grandkids, but yikes, how things are in the UK at the moment. And what will you do? Will you quarantine on the way back? Is that? I don't know. I'm painting my pumpkins this weekend. Ooh, Mrs. Says Penny. In a very sort of matter-of-fact way, right? I'm painting my pumpkins this weekend. And I have that, when people say I've started my Christmas shopping, and you think, oh dear, should I be doing that? And probably not, but it does make you think that, doesn't it? I'm thinking now, should I be painting my pumpkins this weekend? But thank you for that, putting that idea into my head, Penny, and everybody else's. Weekend hiking around Cascais and Sintra. That sounds like a fabulous weekend and a great idea. Thai guest house, Os Amigos near Alvazra has a car boot sale, artisan fair tomorrow from 10 a.m. So that's what Thai's up to tomorrow. That's quite a nice thing for you folks within the driving distance of Alvazra. One of our regular favourites, that'll be the Os Amigos near Alvazra car boot sale and artisan fair over there. I expect Birdie's behind that, isn't she? So great. Okay, so on to this coverage then from the Portugal Resident, which we'll finish with today. And it is doctors and scientists speak out against the COVID policies in 8 languages, including Portuguese, the Tower of Babel. Let me look further into this. This was published yesterday on the Portugal Resident. It's been dubbed the Great Barrington Declaration. And that kind of puts it in possible contention or consideration for a history-changing moment, does it not? The Great Barrington Declaration. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. For having been signed in Great Barrington, USA. So that's the origin. Earlier this week, by a group of doctors and scientists, and it sets out to denounce the damaging physical and mental impacts of prevailing COVID-19 policies, recommending instead a different approach. And I want to share this with you. We are an inclusive, open-minded, open-hearted kind of community here, I think. And that's not to say that anyone should agree or that we're adopting this editorially. I put it in the mix for your consideration as open-minded and intelligent people, and as a platform that isn't controlled editorially I can't say in any way. It's obviously controlled by some of my prejudices and choices, but it's always open for conversation here. Currently circulating the world and being signed up to by thousands, the declaration comes at a time in which populations throughout the globe are beginning to turn against what they see as nanny state governments enforcing endless lockdowns and restrictions that seem to do very little to stem the course of the virus. And there is a link to if you want to go into the detail of the declaration, you can do that from this article. I'll put the link in the blog afterwards. But essentially, it says, excuse me just one moment. Let me just have another sip of my tea. Oh, we haven't done, I'm just reminded there, seeing that screen with the rather confusing backdrop screen. That was my picture from Orient earlier this week. What an incredible architecture that is. But let me just get rid of that for a moment so you can see this story and not be distracted and be told that the live stream is starting in less than 60 seconds. Let's go back to this. So the link to the declaration can be found there. Essentially, it says what so many have been feeling, according to Natasha Don, who wrote this, that current policies are producing devastating effects on short and long-term public health. And I think few people would doubt that. The extent to which that's happening obviously remains to be seen, but I think that's a fair point. The results, to name a few, include lower childhood vaccination rates, worsening cardiovascular disease outcomes, fewer cancer screenings, and deteriorating mental health, leading to greater excess mortality in years to come, says the declaration. Excess mortality in Portugal is already way over anything that can be blamed on COVID-19. So that's a chilling fact to come from this. And the SNS Health Service has a backlog of delayed surgeries stretching into the many thousands. Crikey, so that's in the post. Authorities accept that some of those delayed surgeries will have fatal effects. Oh dear. And much as there's a lobby that recoils in horror at the notion of the policy of herd immunity, this Great Barrington Group is convinced it is the only sensible way forwards. So that's where I guess it gets controversial when people suggest it's the only sensible way. You do have to be careful, don't you, of anybody or anyone or any group who makes the statement, it's the only sensible way. That does bring about a reflex in me when I hear, some emphatic thing like that. Hold on a minute, okay, let's talk about this, but steady on there with your only sensible way. The declaration explains the most compassionate approach that balances the risks and benefits of reaching herd immunity is to allow those who are at minimal risk of death to live their lives normally, to build up immunity to the virus through natural infection, while better protecting those who are at high risk. We call this focused protection. So this is a well thought out and quite cleverly coded document by the sound of it, with these sort of catchphrases. This is how the world works, isn't it? Restaurants and other businesses should open. Arts, music, sport, and other cultural activities should resume. People who are more at risk may participate if they wish, while society as a whole enjoys the protection conferred upon the vulnerable by those who have built up herd immunity. I wasn't aware. I mean, Natasha Don seems to be saying that some people recoil in horror at the notion of the policy of herd immunity. Is that true? I'm not sure about that. As communities everywhere kick back against restrictions that are clearly killing more people than the virus itself, it remains to be seen what effect, if any, the Great Barrington Declaration will have. Portugal is not alone in having groups dedicated to raising awareness, in inverted commas, on the deep downside of the state's current response. But in our case, life has not been anything like as badly affected as, for example, the everyday in the UK. And when you look at how students are being treated in the UK, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? And then you see, old folks being quoted saying, "This is no life. I would rather risk it and enjoy what's left of my life than be locked up for the rest of it." And I have sympathy for that personally. Nonetheless, figures here are far from inspiring. The number of people admitted to hospital is well up. And this goes back to the figures we reported on earlier. Talking today, the minister, back to the article by Natasha Donnet in the Portugal Resident here. Talking today, the minister for the presidency, Mariana Vieira da Silva, said next week the government will have to review the rules currently in place. However, she stressed that the numbers we're seeing now are the numbers we knew would be coming, particularly in view of schools having recently reopened. Meanwhile, the Great Barrington Declaration, translated into Portuguese, French, German, Swedish, Spanish, Italian, Russian, and Hebrew, has gathered the signatures of 4,581 medical and public health scientists, 8,477 medical practitioners, and nearly 100, getting on for 120,000 members of the general public. I suspect those numbers have changed since the reporting of this. What do you think of the Great Barrington Declaration? I wonder. Okay, so we'll leave it there. And unless you've got any comments, I'll probably leave it there generally and wish you a great weekend. Join us for the Expat Man Cave tonight. That is going to be fun. Me and my co-host, Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know, Frank Devane, Persian Frank, and I will be in the company of Barry Schneider, who in the Man Cave will be giving a Man Cave masterclass, everything a gentleman needs to know about film noir tonight. So join us for that, as well as the other nonsense that Frank and I talk for an hour. And we may well have a lock-in, lockdown thing afterwards, after hours, once it's finished. Joe says, on returning to the UK, I stay quarantined for the entire visit. Okay, understood, and good move there, Joe. Making the most of the pool while we can over the weekend. That's weekend plans over there in Fundao. Excellent. And oh yeah, a few more comments coming in. Wonderful. Greg says the most important thing is that the house is sold, the tickets booked, and we are heading to Portugal on the 27th of October. Fantastic. I love it that the show is a focal point for those people making, it's like a pilgrimage, isn't it? Making the journey, the odyssey, the adventure. So great news there, Greg. Wonderful. And again, my offer to you, as with so many of you coming this way, cold Sagres awaits you. Late to class, all our people have a fantastic weekend. Thanks, Owen. Great to see you here this morning. With numbers of COVID cases at record levels, says Neil. What's people's thoughts? Having become relaxed or still just as vigilant? Yeah, good question, Neil. We're still wearing masks everywhere pretty much and always disinfect pretty much everything when out and about. Why are numbers increasing? Yeah, this is a great question. And obviously a lot to do with that is more testing, more cases. That's Trump said that to some public ridicule, but I mean, it is a fact, isn't it? If you test more people, chances are you're going to find more cases, because if you don't test, you don't discover. I think that's a lot to do with it. And as the lady said from the ministry, they were anticipating numbers going up with kids mixing, having been back at school. Weekends, my weekend currently evacuating again. Oh dear, for the third time in 6 weeks, this time from Hurricane Delta. Good heavens, with this, the focus of, where I was at this weekend and what we do here, Barbara, completely unaware of this. So you're evacuating for the third time in 6 weeks from Hurricane Delta. Lots of love to you, Barbara. That sounds awful, what you've been up against. So, yeah, lots of love and hugs and best wishes from the Good Morning Portugal community here. And good luck and all the best with that and with your precautions there. Terry Hamill, thanks for your updates. Make sure your audience have a utent number or the SNS 24 can be tricky to help you. I'm not sure what that means exactly, Terry Hamill. Maybe you could give us a bit more detail on that. Is that the emergency number? I'm going to have to find out what that means, Terry. Thank you for that. Give me a bit of homework there. And SNS, I think that was, when we were reporting early on, there was an English-speaking helpline. You might be referring to that. But cheers, Terry, for that. Have a great weekend. And conversation for tonight, thinks Gary, in the man cave about what's really going on. Well, would we discover what's really going on with COVID? We could certainly speculate and share opinions on that as we do in the man cave. 9:45, got to go, folks. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all your contributions. Thank you for another lovely, great week. As I said, going to be slightly different from next week on. Just as good, if not a whole lot better, as we deepen our relationship with Expats Portugal from next Monday. I'll put a bit of news about that over the weekend, and as I said, hoping that we will have the company of Astrid and Jerry, one or both, from Expats Portugal on Monday, the new team. And Barbara says thank you. Yeah, take great care, Barbara, and same with everyone. Have a great weekend. Be careful out there. Have fun, and take care. And all the best. And just a very quick hola bon dia from Australia. Take care, says Andrew. Good morning to you, Andrew. And goodbye. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now.